Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Influential You Executive Briefing. This is on the Influential You framework. Now, in this session, we're going to dive into the reasons why we sometimes struggle to influence others, and more importantly, what we can do about it. We'll start by exploring the very nature of human exchanges. These are our everyday interactions with people. Think about your essential relationships, colleagues, or customers. Have you ever found yourself worrying about how you, your product, or your idea would be received? Maybe you feel like you're not so great at communicating with certain personalities, or you constantly stress about being unable to get others to say yes when it truly matters. Perhaps your attempt to shape public opinion or inspire change just leave you disillusioned. And then there's that worst gut feeling of all, being thwarted by group dysfunction when everyone seems to be on a different page. Trust me, you're not alone in these experiences.
We all want others to say yes to our ideas. We want our products and our services to be highly valued. And of course, we want to foster positive relationships and eliminate stress along the way. So to help you thrive, we'll introduce you to our world-class and proven Influential You framework. And by the end, you'll not only have a better understanding of what's happening in your daily interactions, but you'll also have practical tools that you can implement today. These will make a real difference in your business right now, and you'll discover how to utilize some untapped strengths and to reveal some hidden liabilities. Plus, you'll be able to optimize performance. So, where do we go from here? Like thousands of our clients worldwide, we'd love to help you thrive.
First, who are we? Well, Influential You is a global professional development, training, and consulting organization. We provide innovative, customer-focused content and tools to enhance performance. Our certified faculty and consultants offer results-driven training and consulting solutions for productivity, for management, and leadership challenges. These solutions are accessible via multiple delivery options, including in-person, virtual, and self-guided training to give our clients the flexibility to learn when, where, and how it makes sense for them. And you're in good company. We've taught thousands of professionals from these organizations that you see on your screen, and our reach includes webinar viewers and podcast subscribers in over 100 countries worldwide. Our courses and webinars include faculty with many accents, and today, hopefully this doesn't mess you up, but this is an American accent, so whether you're joining us from Australia, Germany, New Zealand, Singapore, or South Africa, I hope I'm easy enough to understand. We're going to be casual, but straightforward. Now, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to use the chat feature in however you're watching, and we will answer as many questions as we can. Finally, a reminder that we're actually recording this session, so if you do join in, it'll be recorded.
To introduce ourselves, my name is John Patterson, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Influential You. Our mission is to help you live a rich and satisfying life with a focus on influence, leadership, and high-performance training. I've developed and managed countless leaders, managers, and mentors. For over 35 years, I've facilitated courses and conferences for tens and tens of thousands of individuals from diverse companies, industries, and cultures. My history includes corporate curriculum design, keynote speaking, and training that focuses on business ecosystems, strategic thinking, and teamwork. And my sweet spot is today's in-demand soft skills such as communication, adaptability, problem solving, and emotional intelligence. I specialize in constructing educational environments that produce buy-in, competence, and valued behaviors, making me a sought-after keynote speaker for organizations and associations.
And my name is Josh D'Amigo, and I serve as an advisor. I'm on faculty, and I'm the host of the Influential You podcast. With a background as a recording artist and a successful business professional, I have connected with diverse audiences throughout my career. In addition to my music and business accomplishments, I actively contribute to the local business community here in Ventura. I've been recognized as Young Professional of the Year by the Ventura Chamber of Commerce and featured on the 40 Under 40 list by the Greater Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce. I am committed to community development. I hold my master's degree in organizational management, which further enhances my expertise. Lastly, I've served as the Master of Ceremonies for 2 chambers of commerce here in Ventura County, and I'm on the General Plan Advisory Committee for the City of Ventura and have received numerous accolades for leadership and community contributions. Public speaking is a core strength of mine, and I take pride in delivering engaging and transformative presentations. I've also earned a couple speaking awards. How's that, John?
That's great. All right. The future belongs to those with influence.
Mm-hmm.
And by honing your knowledge and skills, you can enhance your personal and professional influence. As you, your teams, or your companies leverage their influence, they can shape public opinion, drive consumer behavior, enact policies, inspire societal changes, or impart knowledge and value to future generations. In this executive briefing, we're going to dive into the reasons why we, all of us, tend to struggle to influence other people. And we'll start by exploring the very nature of human exchanges. We'll first address our biggest challenges and why these challenges occur. And then we're going to talk about how we solve these challenges and demonstrate the tools and framework that we are famous for.
And finally, near the end, we'll offer you some special tools to help you thrive. This will help you implement what you've learned today and make a real difference in your business, not tomorrow, but right now. So what are our biggest challenges? Well, when it comes to influencing others, there are several significant professional challenges that each and every one of us face.
And our biggest challenges are often with other people, our human exchanges. And these challenges aren't difficult to observe. If you think over the last few weeks about your essential relationships, colleagues, or customers, you may experience many of these familiar issues. And I've got them on the screen. You can see one is glacial productivity. This is when the individual, group, or organizational dysfunction hampers our progress and market leadership by impeding project completion and product delivery. The costs are really high, but missing market leadership is absolutely deadly. Another one is, we'll call it untapped leadership. This leads to missed opportunities for growth and innovation, a lack of succession planning, employee disengagement, talent drain, and a lack of diversity and inclusion, and inefficient decision making. Then my favorite, aimless performance. It's easy to confuse busyness with productivity. True productivity requires an aimed focus, setting clear goals, streamlining workflows, and cultivating a mindful work environment. And then lastly, and I hear this a lot, especially in large organizations, limited buy-in. This includes reduced commitment, decreased cooperation, communication challenges, increased resistance, and a lot of missed opportunities. We need other people to say yes quickly to our ideas, our projects, and our products.
Studies suggest that employees in the United States spend an average of 31 hours per month in unproductive meetings.
Mm.
You might be saying, not my company, it's more. Now, it's estimated that inefficient meetings cost our economy here in the US approximately $399 billion per year in wasted time. And as you can see, John is shaking his head. He doesn't like that.
No.
Now, many of us experience these challenges every single day. These challenges require a combination of skills, including effective communication, active listening, empathy, adaptability, and strategic thinking.
All right. Now, let's talk about why these challenges occur. What's the root of it all? The reason why these challenges occur is that you and I have limited perspective on something we do every day, all the time. We transact in sociology, anthropology, economics. Foundationally, all the social sciences support the idea that all of our social interactions are fundamentally transactional, that we truly are an exchange animal.
However, our reliance on human exchanges hides our understanding of their true nature. When we only think of these transactions as a simple tit-for-tat exchange, well, then we encounter numerous challenges in our careers, in our finances, relationships, and our overall sense of fulfillment. Influential You uncovers the true nature of human exchange, investigating why we often have this limited perspective on something we do every day, our daily interactions. This sheds light on the challenges we face and why we often struggle to understand our role in moving transactions forward. Now, group dynamics add a whole other layer of complexity, and it's compounded by a missing framework for optimizing the transaction's performance. So what is this framework, you ask?
Well, this framework begins with our mantra.
Good.
Our mantra, you want to say it?
You are always transacting.
You're always transacting. Now, we know it's important to unpack this a bit, actually. So chances are that today you used electricity. In fact, I know you are using it right now. You turned on water taps and you ate food you didn't grow. And any attempt to live outside the known market is laborious. Yeah. And if in doubt, my favorite is a video called How to Make a $1,500 Sandwich in Only 6 Months. This produces a deficiency known as independence poverty. It's when all of your time is used up laboring to do everything yourself, and you shackle yourself with what you alone can do or produce. And by the way, this applies to individuals, companies, and nations. You and I are involved in transactions with tens of millions of people we'll never meet. And our day-to-day lives are a series of nonstop exchanges with our spouses, our families, our colleagues, and our customers. And each of these transactions is a reciprocal. That means it's mutual. And here's a fancy word. It's co-constitutive. That means that we evolve together, exchange. And unless you live on a remote island, you are always transacting. But we fooled you a bit, because even if you find yourself on a deserted island, unfortunately, you'll still be in a transaction with the ecosystem for your survival. Think about it. If you just look at the limited resources on your island, if you use too much, you're dead. You use all the trees, you're dead. You eat all the animals, you're dead. This leads us to consider our transaction with something much, much bigger, the natural world. And by the way, you'd be dead without your microbiome or oxygen or the atmosphere. Did you know, for example, that the human microbiome, that's all the genetic material that lives on and in us, the sum of all of those microbes, the bacteria, fungi, protozoa, viruses, that is in a reciprocal, mutually beneficial transaction with our bodies. And in fact, the number of genes in all of the microbes in your body is 200 times the number of genes in your human genome. In fact, as much as 2.3 kilograms or 5 pounds of your body weight. See, transactions occur naturally in physics with complex adaptive systems like evolution, and at every level from the molecular to the cosmological. Transaction is not merely the point of sale.
But most people only ever think of a transaction as that, as just a point of sale, like it's some cold tit-for-tat exchange. It is typically imagined as the point where we tender money for services, sign a contract, or we accept, decline, or counter an offer. It's what most people draw to illustrate a transaction when we ask. However, don't we also accept, decline, and counter invitations or presentations? What about judgments? What about opinions? What about facts? Although it may not seem obvious at first, the truth is you and I accept, decline, and counter at dozens of exchanges that eventually lead to the point of sale. And then there are dozens after it.
That's right.
Part of what we're missing that transactionally competent people just don't is that when we skip, dismiss, or are blind to a step in our transactions, we often fail. And then we don't understand why things ran off the rails. Every conversation you have, every negotiation you have, discussion, debate, meeting, judgment, rally, even commitments are a series of exchanges where you and I accept, decline, and counter what is offered by someone else. Every corporation, small business, or new startup is built as a series of exchanges where you and I accept, decline, and counter what is offered. Transactions are inescapable, and they're fundamental to our survival. And that's why we say those who transact powerfully thrive.
All right. But transactions get a bad rap. You know this. Transactions are often maligned as contractual or even immoral exchanges, devoid of care. That to label someone transactional is to call them an opportunist, a term related to the subversion of morality to profit. In fact, the term transactional is typically used today as a synonym for quid pro quo, which is to spectacularly miss the point. For a true transactionalist, nothing could be further from the truth. This notion of transaction is often expressed inaccurately as things like tit for tat, carrot and stick, or some kind of indifferent or insensitive approach. And this notion permeates throughout most of mainstream media, as well as business and management schooling. It's also being preached throughout motivational training and instruction. It's seen as a highly consequential approach to activity and one that doesn't seem to take into account the wants and needs of other people. This notion is an attempt to split or separate transaction from the principle of transformation, which is often offered or positioned as a superior and moral approach to leadership and generally dealing with other people, where transformation is posited as a sincere and life-changing win-win. Transaction is relegated to a measured, consequential event that rewards success and punishes failure. This is not how it is. This notion is an interactional, mechanistic, and absolutely incomplete understanding of both transaction and transformation.
Yeah. Because when you think about it, transactions truly transform both parties. When you and I agree on something, maybe it's dinner plans or nuclear negotiations, we both get transformed in that process. Life is now a little or a whole lot different depending on that transaction. We reorganize our future, restructure the actions that we take, and we alter our behaviors. In this relationship, both become united for the moment in a mutual transition or transaction.
That's right.
It is a process in which both are reciprocally transformed. That is to say, the nature of the change each undergoes is affected by the presence and influence of the other. A transaction, then, is truly a creative act engaged in by one who, by virtue of his participation in this act, where he's always an aspect and never simply an entity, together with the other participants, whether they're human or environmental, become in the process modified. Simply put, we change each other. The transactional approach is designed to correct the fragmentation of experience on whatever level it may occur. And it's the right to see together, much that is talked about conventionally as if it were composed of these irreconcilable separates, like they just can't get along. Transaction is an inescapable, more accurate depiction of how we actually engage in day-to-day life. This corrects the fragmentation of experience on all levels.
And I'll give you an example of that. In many cases, we tend to say about ourselves, mind and body. But that's a kind of fragmentation of a whole, correct? So think of all the systems, structures, and frameworks where you and I tend to fragment things. Transaction corrects the fragmentation. So you're always transacting. Always.
Yep.
Always.
Always.
The question is, do you transact powerfully? So how does knowing all of this help solve our challenges? And this is where we absolutely can help.
That's what we do.
If you and I are always transacting, first of all, you would think that you could easily draw a transaction, but can you?
Now, it's not your ability, but if I asked you to draw a transaction, you'll likely sketch two stick figures shaking hands while exchanging a bag of money for something. Now, most people think of the transaction just like that, a very simplified exchange. For example, let's say we're exchanging your money for a pencil. Well, doesn't that consider that some more important questions might be there? Like, how did we arrive at this moment where we are exchanging a pencil for money? There's more to it. Why do you need a pencil? How did we determine the price? Why that pencil and not a different one? How did I know you had a pencil that you wanted to buy? How did we come to terms? Why did we decide to meet here and do this? And what happens after this moment? Is selling that pencil going to help you meet your aims? There are so many questions. It can go on and on and on and on. Now, this is important because your abridged interpretation of transactions is probably the root of all of your problems. I'll say it again because it's that important. Your abridged interpretation of transactions may be the root of all of your problems. It's why many struggle with career, their money, and people. And it's why much satisfaction is always just beyond your reach. Now, John's going to show you exactly what that transaction looks like.
All right, so here's what a transaction looks like. So take a moment, and look at the transaction. We're going to study this a bit. First of all, note that a transaction is a cycle. It's a series of exchanges that occur at specific intervals intended to produce a successful outcome. Now, if we start at the top, you can see that these exchanges are invent, invite, present, contract, fulfill, measure, complete, and assess. And you can begin to see that we engage in exchanges at each interval, gaining acceptance. So, for example, if someone invites you to hear a new idea, then you say yes, no, or you counter, don't you? And then you make a presentation, and that's accepted, declined, or counter. And this results in a contract that's accepted, declined, or counter. And we continue all the way around the cycle. And if you think about some of the simple transactions you might engage in routinely, like buying a cup of coffee, choosing a restaurant for dinner, or setting up a meeting, how are each of these 8 exchanges addressed? You might find that you miss, you skip, or even avoid some of these exchanges.
All right. Okay. You're sitting there wondering, what's the benefit of using this transaction cycle? Well, look at it for a moment. Think about Uber. They disrupted an industry by offering something cheaper, easier, and modernized. They removed the friction for all parties at each and every exchange, as opposed to, say, hailing a taxi from the sidewalk, fumbling through your pockets for a few dollar bills, and then debating over how much to tip. We now simply push a button on an app. Where are there frictions in your exchanges? Where is there dysfunction? Which exchanges on this sheet right here in front of you do you disregard
and you do
or dismiss?
Disregard.
Oh my goodness, they're everywhere. Now, the benefits of understanding this transaction cycle are major. For example, you may have already noticed that you probably gravitate towards 2 or 3 of these exchanges and disregard others.
That's right. Transactions reveal personalities. So human beings have been recognized to have similar reactions and responses to common situations for centuries, leading to the development of personality profiling and training. And these typically center around 4 distinct types of behavior. And while over 250 different frameworks exist, they often lack a critical distinction that makes personality both actionable and simple to adapt. By the way, I am an ENTJ and a high D functioning. I'm in one personality profile. I'm a dolphin. I'm not sure what to do with all of it, but there we go. Ours is very simple to adapt, and it's something that we call personality in transaction. Personality in transaction.
Now, in the past, personality frameworks have been commonly used by professionals to determine whether a new candidate was a good match for a role or company culture. You may not have known it at the time, but they were collecting those answers you put on the sheet and doing something with it. However, as this professional world becomes more conscious of diversity, many people are uncomfortable with being labeled or categorized.
Absolutely.
Rightly so. Personality in transaction offers a different approach by focusing on how we behave in our transactions rather than simply labeling us as a certain personality. Our framework acknowledges that we all bring value to our exchanges, and it helps us recognize patterns in our behavior rather than trying to define ourselves by them. Personality and behaving transactionally serves as a fundamental guide to the Influential You framework. We call it transactional competence. It begins with the focus on how we behave in transactions within the groups that we already belong to. This framework acknowledges the importance and potential drawbacks of our contributions to human exchanges and enables us to identify patterns in our behavior. Since each personality tends to have a unique role to play, each individual's contribution is vital to the group's overall success. By recognizing and appreciating these differences, we can ensure that the collective team thrives.
We're going to have you consider the transaction cycle and then ask yourself the following questions. First, which exchange do I like most? For me, I like inventing. Right? For you?
Presenting.
Which exchanges do you avoid?
Contracts. No, thank you. Don't like them. I don't like the rub.
For me, it is measure. And which exchanges do you use to offer the most value? Well, it's not a shocker, but for me, it's invention. I invent, I offer the future. And for you, it's
probably invitations in this one, because the more people I invite, the more people I present, and the more contracts I run away from. That's not true.
So personality in transaction is about how we approach every exchange. It's about how you and I grapple with our everyday interactions with people, all of our relationship conversations, our business meetings, and all of those essential exchanges. So how do I discover my personality in transactions? Well, first of all, the exchanges you love or avoid may begin to reveal where you offer value in transactions. And our model allows you to understand your own personality and easily influence other personalities. Each transactional personality demonstrates assets, liabilities, and behaviors that can accelerate transactions or grind them to a halt.
Personality characteristics. Now, on your screen, you'll see the comprehensive chart that we titled Personality Characteristics. At the end of today's session, there will be a link to a quiz to discover your own personality in transaction. And we call this our superpower quiz. It reveals both your transactional superpower and your kryptonite. The quiz will offer you access to these diagrams and teach you how to use them. But to tell you a bit about each personality now, you can see the personality characteristics we each tend to demonstrate in our exchanges. Now remember, we're not describing you, but rather your tendency to express this particular behavior in your transactions. The inventor personality tends to be oriented toward new ideas, bold declarations, and offering the future. Their dominant need for happiness is certainty. The performer personality tends to be oriented toward relationships, constructing great stories, offering influence. Their dominant need for happiness is freedom. The producer personality tends to be oriented towards doing, making a list, checking it twice, offering get-it-done deadlines. Their dominant need for happiness is consistency. And the judge personality tends to be oriented towards facts, protecting standards, and offering or insisting on evidence. Their dominant need for happiness, it's security.
And all of this comes together in the influential you framework that we call transactional competence. Transactional competence offers a knowledge and behavior framework designed to guide individuals, teams, and enterprises towards prosperous transactions that can scale. Implementing transactional competence means training and developing ourselves, our teams, and our companies to be fitter and fitter to engage in successful and efficient exchanges. These frameworks easily reframes our interpersonal, social, and economic pursuits towards productive cooperation. Transactional competence has gained global recognition. Its widespread expansion is due in part to the transformative view the framework produces for all involved. These skills include shared leadership, persuasion, diverse inputs, collaboration, productivity, and building buy-in advocates for successful outcomes. Individuals who take part in this approach experience personal growth, improved financial stability, and increased, so much more satisfaction. Organizations that embrace transactional competence see accelerated progress, overcome dysfunction, and are quicker to bring their products to market. Teams that adopt this approach discover a renewed sense of purpose and enthusiasm as they recognize the value of their roles in more significant transactions.
Now, there are many ways to develop your transactional competence. The Fundamentals of Transaction is the course that started it all. For almost 15 years, the Fundamentals of Transaction has helped individual business professionals learn how to build and present business offers that get accepted quickly. This 6-month transformative course has proven to help individuals produce 46% more income than they anticipated. Transactional Competence Across Teams, or TCX, teaches teams and organizations to leverage differences, optimize performance, and accelerate results. This is a training consulting hybrid that directly applies the training to teams while working on important projects or change initiatives. It produces a framework for collaboration that can scale, allowing teams to move rapidly.
If your team or your company seek to implement transactional competence, then we have a roadmap that helps you utilize untapped strengths, reveal hidden liabilities, and optimize performance. Now, the first course in the roadmap is something we call Personality and Behaving Transactionally. For groups or companies curious or interested in transactional competence, this course is where we recommend you start. This course will transform how you think about all exchanges and your role in their success. This comprehensive course improves team performance and productivity by utilizing individual differences and enhancing collaboration. One of the key competencies in the course is the ability to identify and utilize transactional personality differences to speed up results and enhance team effectiveness. By understanding our team members' transactional strengths and hidden liabilities, you can optimize their contributions and develop a cohesive and productive team. Our courses work well with those seeking to address issues with leadership, communication, productivity, and strategy, and they pair well with things like agility or lean initiatives or DEI programs and with sales or negotiation training.
Personality and Behaving Transactionally can help individuals and teams by teaching them to let go and allow untapped leadership to emerge. This approach enhances team cohesion and efficiency by enabling team members to work together more effectively. The course focuses on building scalable frameworks for collaboration, accelerate initiatives, and reduce the time to complete actions, projects, and product launches. This work can reduce product development time and time to launch, or enhance teamwork flow and efficiency, or even develop an entire company culture.
Now, to summarize, to help you thrive, we've introduced you to our world-class and proven Influential You framework. Now you not only have a better understanding of what's happening in your daily interactions, but also we've introduced you to a practical set of tools that you can implement today. Before we go, we want to give you one more simple framework. This is fundamental to everything we teach, and this framework is called the conditions of life.
Now, a condition of life refers to the circumstances, states, or situations that are necessary for personal satisfaction. Ignoring these conditions does not make them disappear, and some conditions may become more or less important as a person progresses through life. Moreover, we believe that neglecting the most important of these conditions will result in a difficult and challenging life. Planning your aims in any one condition of life includes understanding the condition and thinking accurately about it. For example, I can only plan my aims for money if I know how much money I might require to live my life until I die. Money can easily be calculated and planned, but without doing so, we find ourselves aimless and merely hoping for the best. So why are these important? Because each of us transacts only to satisfy these unavoidable and inescapable conditions of life. In addition, we find that these four conditions that we have highlighted in gold either support or threaten the satisfaction of all of the other conditions.
So let's take a moment and think accurately about the condition of life we call money, for example. Here's the question. How much money do you need to live your life until you die? That number can be calculated. It's easy to calculate. For example, just do this. Imagine the annual income you require to live your life to your satisfaction each year. Get a number in mind. It might be 150K, it might be 200K, it might be or higher. So get that number in mind and take that number and double it. Now add a zero to it. What's your number? So for example, 150K doubled is 300, add a zero becomes 3 million. 3 million is the average amount of assets required to retire at age 65 and live this lifestyle until you die. And most don't think accurately about money or any other condition of life. And our entire education is built for whole life satisfaction. In other words, to satisfy all the conditions of life in their totality. Understanding conditions of life is so important that we make it the first step in a model we call the 13 steps for making bulletproof offers. This is a roadmap or guide for the development of compelling business offers for products, services, projects, initiatives, and markets. Knowing your aims in each condition of life is the critical work you do for making powerful offers and transacting effectively for them.
Now, lastly, we promise to offer a quiz that we call our personality quiz. It indicates your personality and its best fit in transactions. You can use this QR code live, or if you're viewing this in the future, to take our quiz. And I invite you to do it right now. The biggest benefit that you'll receive is a more valid reflection of yourself and how you tend to behave in your transactions, especially the ones that you may find a little bit challenging.
Now, for many, you may seek additional study, practice, and habits by subscribing to Thrive Self-Guided Training. Thrive is a self-guided program that lets you learn at your own pace and supplement your professional development. Subscribers get weekly live e-coaching sessions and access to a big content library featuring exclusive video lessons from the influential senior faculty and industry experts. You'll get proven proprietary tools to accurately assess your career and develop a realistic strategy to achieve your aims faster. You can sign up for a 30-day free trial and cancel at any time. A Thrive subscription is $125 a month, and you can use the coupon code 30days at checkout to subscribe. That's 30 days at checkout to subscribe.
Finally, you can book a strategy session with myself. We'll do a deeper dive into your specific challenges. I'm certain that we have some powerful solutions. And we can put that link in the notes below this video, or you can go ahead and send me an email. As you can see, it's right there. Even give me a call. Just go ahead and take a screenshot of that picture, and I'll be in touch. Now, thank you so much for joining us on the executive briefing for the Influential You framework. We hope it's been well worth your time. Thank you.